And that is, well, wow, nothing I'm saying is right. Just gonna. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey, and we're about to get very, very nerdy with April's TBR. I'm sitting down because this video hasn't even started and I know it's going to be a video. So, in April, we have plans. I don't know why I said it that way. I do have plans though, because in April, the revamping of Magical Readathon is coming back and I am so excited, you guys. Oh my goodness. If you guys have been on my channel for a long time, you guys know that I love this readathon, which is hosted and created by G over at Book Roast. I will make sure I leave the announcement video down below. It's like a two-parter. Part of it's taking place in April, and the other half is taking place in August. So we have the April round, and I am going to talk about it a little bit later on in the video. I'm going to be doing my TBR basket first, and then we'll go into like the second half of this video. I'll chapter it if you'd like. We'll talk about like the prompts and all of the fun stuff. But it is a readathon that used to be based on Harry Potter and now is no longer. It's just a general magical readathon where G has created an entire world, and it's crazy. But that readathon alone has 14 prompts in it. Now there is no way I'm getting to all 14. That is utterly ridiculous. But I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. There's usually about 12 in this readathon anyway. It's not much more than usual, and I will be vlogging the entire month, so stay tuned for weekly vlogs that are coming back in April. That is the only like readathon that I'm planning on taking place in April. I don't think there's anything else, and honestly I'm not sure my brain could handle it at this point. Plus, I already know that this TBR is going to be ridiculously long as it is, so I'm already, before I've even picked anything, I'm just going to make a blanket statement that I'm going to take no punishments for May. It's going to be a month, and I'm not going to be able to finish everything, and it's just going to become crazy. But let's just dive right into last month's picks real quick, see how many punishments we need to add, if any, and then we'll dive into the basket. So in the month of March, we had 11 books on my TBR. Here are the ones that I have physically right here. But there was quite a few here. So the first one was Wall Street Titan, which was to read a book set in a cold place. And then we had The Ghosts We Keep by Mason Deaver, which was a random number generator. I did like a random shelf generator. And then we had Sister Song, which was a book based on history. And then we had Any Touches Will Do by Tessa Dare, which was a book that was blurbed by an author you like. Julia Quinn was right there on the cover. We had Night by Elie Wiesel, which was to read a nonfiction. Then we had the 7th volume of Dreaming Son, which was to read a book by or about an Asian main character or author or something like that. And then we had Desperate Measures by Katie Robert, which was to read an adult book. And then we had The Queen of the Tierling by Erica Johansson, which was to read a book from my Goodreads TBR. I had to think about that for a second. We had Unmarriageable, which was to read a book set not in the US. Daughter of the Trolls, which I believe was to read a book that was super short. Is that right? Yeah, less than 300 pages. And then we had The Valet's Secret, which is an arc I had, which was to read a book that was coming out this month, aka March. So I have six books I haven't finished yet, including Wall Street Titan, which I don't physically own. I'm currently in the middle of Sister Song, so I'm not going to count that because I'm definitely going to finish that in like the next couple of days. I think I'm also going to be able to get to The Ghosts We Keep by Mason Deaver. As of recording this, I've got a full week left in the month, so I'm not at all worried. So I'm planning on getting to that one as well. And then I'm also planning on getting to the Wall Street Titan. I had a weird month. I took like a week off to go on vacation, and I didn't actually read that much that week. And then I did a lot of random buddy reads as well. So after all of that, of what I think I can logically get done, there's still 3 left. So I do need to read A Daughter of the Trolls because this is an ARC copy that I received, and this comes out in the middle of April. So I'm going to really try to get to this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to really dive in until April. So I'm going to go ahead and take a punishment for that, but just like assume this is also on April's TBR. And then we've got Unmarriageable and The Queen of the Tierling. So would love to get to these, but you know, this month was just not my month. So we're going to go ahead and take 3 punishment picks. So we've got 11 starting off the month, and let's see what the basket has in store. Pick number 1. Here we go. Oh dear. Got, ooh, read a middle grade. So right off the bat, the basket is helping me out because we got read a middle grade, which if you guys have been here for any length of time, you know that this year I am trying to read at least one middle grade and one nonfiction every single month. And this is perfect because I really, really, really want to get to the 4th in the Arusha series by Roshani Chokshi. I read the 3rd one last month and it ended on a huge cliffhanger, and I have so many questions and thoughts and I need the next one. So I already had plans to see if I could fit this one in this month anyway, because like I need to know, and this works perfectly. So this follows a group of kids, primarily our main character is Arusha, and it follows her, and she is one of the Pandava kids, and it's basically like these, I think there's 4 of them, these 4 like mythical people who have been reincarnated, and they're supposed to like save the world and stuff, and so this is just the next adventure, but like I said, huge cliffhanger at the end of the last one, so I need answers. So I think this is the most recent one right now. It was supposed to be a quartet, but I know that there's a 5th one planned for this year sometime, so I think the authors decided just to expand it because they're doing so well, and also they're really good, and they're just kind of fun, fantastical, whimsical kind of stories. It's really interesting to like see the interwovenness of Indian mythology in common day, like contemporary settings. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of like references to modern culture and stuff, but so I really enjoyed it, and I am very excited to get to this one in this month because I need answers. Pick number 2. Here we go. Oh dear. Got, oh, read a poetry collection. Next one is to read a poetry collection, which I don't have that many of actually, but I do have one that I haven't read yet, and I'm always willing to fit in some really thin things because I know this month is going to be ridiculous. So I have decided to go with Aphrodite Made Me Do It by Trissa Mater, and this is basically like an interesting approach to women and feminism in today's time, but using like Greek mythology and references like that as an Aphrodite. It says that this is an imaginative approach to self-care with her new collection, which is this. And I'm just really interested to see, because while I'm scrolling through it, there's some pictures I for sure can't show you, but there's definitely like illustrations throughout it, and it's going to be really easy to get to because like some of the poems, as you can see, are not very long. And I've had this on my shelves for quite a while. I saw it on CC from Problems of a Book Nerd's channel. That's where I discovered it. She seemed to really, I think she read it, but maybe she just hauled it, but she seemed to be very interested in it and say good things, so I decided to give it a try. And I've had this for maybe not quite a year, but I got it a little bit ago, and I'm excited to dive in. Number 3. Ooh, oh dear. I'm losing things. Okay. Read a secondhand bought book. The next one is to read a book that you bought secondhand, which is perfect because I honestly forgot that I bought this secondhand because it looks so good. And that is my book for my Tessa Dare buddy read that I've been doing with my friends Taylor and Brooke. And that is Do You Want to Start a Scandal? And this is the 5th book and the last like full-length novel in her Spindle Cove series. It's also a crossover with the Spindle Cove and her, I believe it's her Castles Ever After series, if I am correct. We follow our main character, Charlotte Highwood. On the night of the Parkhurst ball, someone had a scandalous tryst in the library, and everyone thinks that it was her. And so Charlotte's trying to prove that it's not, and I think she enlists the help of Pierce Branson, who is a lord, and I believe he is a rake. And of course, the two of them, feelings emerge. But Charlotte is a character who we've seen throughout Spindle Cove. Her sister had one of the second book in the series. We followed her, and as I've gone through the series, I did not like it at the beginning, and as we continue to grow, it gets better and better. So I'm excited to dive into this one, and I did pick this one up from my used book warehouse that I have near me, and like it's pretty good condition, you know, so I forgot that I bought it secondhand, but I did. So yeah, there we go, got my buddy read in for the month. Well, one of them. Number 4. Here we go. Alrighty. Read a book set in a warm place. The next one is to read a book set in a warm place, which is perfect because I really wanted to get this book on this list, and that is Dial A for Aunties. This is by Jessie Q. Suetano. I'm going to say this is warm because not only are there palm trees, it says on the back here that this primarily takes place at a wedding that is on an island resort in California. So I'm feeling like it's going to be warm setting. But the sequel to this one, which I've forgotten what it's called. Oh no. It's called Four Aunties and a Wedding. That comes out at the beginning of, no, it came out at the end of March. So I currently don't have it, but I'd really like to, read this before I actually get the copy because I pre-ordered it before I even read the first one. But this basically follows a girl named Madeline, and she accidentally kills her blind date. And so she enlists the help of her four aunts to help her out, figure out what the heck to do, and then they go to this wedding and the body ends up in like the cake cooler or something, and they have to like figure out what to do with it. It sounds utterly ridiculous. Like, there's a lot about this that I'm questioning. It's giving me like the fun contemporary romance vibes, but I have a very suspicious feeling it's very much not that. But I mean, I need to know. Okay, I've had this on my shelves for quite a while and I need to know what the heck is going on. So yes, I picked this one. I feel like this is going to be a warm setting, and I need my answers. Number 5. Oh, for goodness sakes. Okay. All right. Read a book. What? Oh, that's supposed to be an or. So I read this wrong, but it says read a book about or featuring books. This one, the paper was very confusing, but this is to read a book about or featuring books in some way. And I did not have that many, actually. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out what the heck to read. And then I remembered Much Ado About You, which was a book that I'd actually started, but I did have the ARC. It was one of those books that I have on NetGalley that I had the ARC of, and like I'm just trying to clear out my NetGalley shelf, and this is one of them. So I do have the audiobook of this, and I'm very excited to dive in. This is by Samantha Young, and it basically follows, I've forgotten all the names of our characters, but our main character has hit a snag in her life. I believe she lives in New York, if I remember correctly. Maybe not, but like I think her job fell through, and like she might have been in a relationship and that fell through, so she's just kind of like struggling and she needs to get away. And so she gets away by going to England, taking a trip to England, and one of the place that she's staying has like a stipulation where if you stay there you have to also work the bookstore that is below it, and that just sounds awesome. I do believe this is maybe not primarily a retelling of Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare, but it definitely has some sort of Shakespearean, interpretation or influence, some sort of influence from Shakespeare. And obviously this is a romance. I think a guy over there and her strike up a possible friendship, and then like maybe it's hate to love. There's a lot about this that I have forgotten, but she does have to take over a bookstore for the time that she stays there, and that sounds amazing. I know there are places out there that are actually like that, and I just like, how cool would that be? Sounds good. It's about books. I am excited. Number 6. Oh, that's tiny. Read a book with nature on the cover. The next one is to read a book with nature on the cover. So I've decided to go with Cloaked in Shadow, and this is by Ben Alderson. This is the first in this series, which I've now forgotten what the series name is, but I do have all 3 of them, because of course I do. So it follows our main character, Zachariah, and he is basically taken to this elven capital and forced to be part of the king's shapeshifters, except for that he's not a shapeshifter. It says on here he doesn't know what he is, so I think he's got some sort of magical something, but we're not sure what it is. And he like makes new friends, and then there's a clash between all of the 3 elvish continents, and there's like a war on the horizon. It just sounds like fantasy goodness. But I have read a book by Ben Alderson before, and he is really good at writing those really fun fantasy stories that have a male-male romance in them, because the author is gay himself, and so we didn't see that growing up, and so he likes to write things like that. And I just think that's so incredible, and I think except for one book. I have everything that he's ever written, and I've read one. So we're gonna start this series finally. So I'm excited to dive in. I do have all of them like I mentioned, but I really just need to start that series and then eventually I'll dive through. And this one's not too long. The second one is like, I'm not even kidding you when I say twice the size of this, so I'm a little worried about that. But I am excited to dive into this one and see what other great things this author has, because this, I believe, is his debut novel and series, so I'm excited to see how he's grown, because I had read his most recent thing when I did read that. So I'm excited, and this will be fun. And I do have the audiobook, because they are on Audible, which is great. Number 7. All right, read a book that was gifted. So next one is to read a book that was gifted, and I am so excited because I recently got in the mail A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This came from a friend of mine from college. I'm helping him with I'm reading like a manuscript he's got, and so as a thank you, he sent me this book. So how kind is that? So if you're watching, thank you so very much. But this is the first in her series that is the Hades and Persephone retelling series, and I don't know a thing beyond that. But I do know that like her series are relatively adult, and yes please. And this took like the Bookstagram, Book Talk, book internet world by storm when it came out, and it is the first in a trilogy. But I just got this one this past month, so I'm so excited to dive in, and I love me a good retelling. You guys know this, so I couldn't, when this prompt came up, I knew immediately what I was gonna put on this list for it, and I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this. It's gonna be a good one. Number 8. Alright, a recent purchase as in this year. The next one is a recent purchase as in this year. I've got a couple in here. One of them is from the most like recent month, and then I've got one that's like just this year sometime. So for this one, I'm actually going to do an audiobook that I purchased on Audible, and that is The Heiress, and this is by Molly Greasley. This is a retelling of sorts, reimagining of Anne Berg, which is a character in Pride and Prejudice that gets like almost 0 page time. I mean, her and Mary Bennet are like the two characters that get like almost no anything on the page, and I think Anne Berg gets even less than Mary, if I am correct. And so this just sounds like a very interesting retelling. It follows her, and it follows, because like in the original Pride and Prejudice, she is thought to be very sickly, and so she is always kind of inside. Her mother is kind of like a mother hen of sorts, and always taking care of her and always making sure that she's not overexerting herself. And this retelling makes it sound like she's not actually ill, she's just thought to be ill, and so they give her laudanum for most of her life, and I think it's her coming into her own. But you had me at Pride and Prejudice retelling. Not gonna lie, but I do have this on Audible, and it sounded so freaking good, and I never heard of it, so I'm gonna say this because I did buy it like I think a couple of months ago. I just haven't had time to dive into it yet, and I am excited. Punishment pick number 1. Here we go. Alright. No, we're not doing that. Ugh. And 2 more books. So I hate everything. We got to add 2 more prompts this month, which means we're what, 11? We're at 13 now. So not great, but not terrible. So yeah, let's re-roll or re-pick for number 9, because we still don't have a prompt for number 9 yet. Okay, well, try 2 at number 9 / first punishment. Goodness. Alright, here we go. This was folded weird. Read a book that will make you cry. Lovely. So the next one is to read a book that will make you cry. And I'm not sure if this one will, but I have, based on other books by this author, I'm going to assume that it does, and that is Galatea, I believe is how you pronounce it, by Madeline Miller. This is her short story that's kind of based, I can't remember what the Greek myth is, but it's based on Greek mythology, and it it got a revamp, so it's really up in like the world right now. I feel like it was republished in like a new, like maybe it was published for the first time in hardback, but it was written like, or published originally way back in like 2013, so it's not like relatively new per se. But I haven't actually read it, and I've read the other two books and own the other two books by Madeline Miller, so I am planning on ordering this one so I can get my own copy. But based on the last two stories by her, I've cried at both of them, so I don't know if I will or not. This might be a bad guess on my part because it is such a short story, but her works are very like profound and have really strong emotions tied to them, and even though it's a short story, I think it's going to be really good. So I'm gonna say this one. So this is based on the myth of Galatea, who was turned into a statue, that's right, and then came back to life in Greek mythology some way. So I do think this has a very modern twist on it, whereas her other books don't have a modern twist, but they have modern like ideals attached to these characters, but they're characters that we haven't ever really seen before, or like they don't have their own opinions and stuff in Greek myths. But this one I think is actually like a modernized version. If I'm correct, I might be all kinds of wrong, but that's my idea, or that's what I think. So we'll see. Punishment number 2. Alrighty. Read a book that was published before 5 years ago. The next one is a book that was published more than 5 years ago, which I think is somewhere between, but like before 2017 and before, which is fun because I'm actually going to go with an old historical romance, and that is Love Only Once by Joanna Lindsey. This is the first in the Mallory series that she has. Like, I've got all of them actually, and I just need to dive in. I've just been putting it off and I haven't. This is a series that follows the family called the Mallory family, and it is a family of dashing rogues and rake-hell adventures and ladies of uncommon beauty and uncomparable spirit. So this one follows Regina, and she is abducted by this guy named Nicholas Eden, and it doesn't really say a whole lot on the back here, but it says that like she vows to marry him, and then there's like a lot more to their romance than that. Like, there's a lot of like secrets from his past that come out, but I'm a huge fan of Joanna Lindsey. I love the Mallory series from what I've read so far, and I'm trying to make my way from the first to the end, so this is the one that we're going to go with. And this one came out in 1980 something, 1985, so I'd say we're well over 5 years ago. So I'm excited. I love a good historical romance, so I'm excited. Punishment number 3. Oh goodness, okay. Read a book released last year. Oh, that's perfect. The next one is to read a book that was released last year, as in 2021, which is perfect, so I can get my nonfiction in this month. And I'm going to be reading In the Shadow of the Empress by Nancy Goldstone. This is her most recent book. She is a historian that writes a lot of really interesting historical stories about like women in history. This one follows Mary Teresa, who is the mother of Marie Antoinette, and her 3 daughters, one of them being Marie Antoinette. So we do follow 4 women in this, and in the past I read a book about a woman and like all of her like daughters and granddaughters and stuff, and there was a lot of people in that and I couldn't keep anything straight. But I'm excited about this one because I love the story of Marie Antoinette. It's one of the parts of history that I find really fascinating, and I love Nancy Goldstone's take on history. I think she has a very interesting way of telling her stories and finding a way that makes it really interesting and not boring to share said things. And this is just the most recent one that came out. I believe it was November last year. But I am very excited. I've been hoping to read this one this year. It's also on the list of books to read by the end of the year, and I try to get one of those in every month. And so this can be that one, and also nonfiction. And also I'm excited. So really, there's just a lot happening here. It's thick. Well, it's big. It's not thick. It's just a large book, but I do have the audiobook of this, as I do with most things at this point, and I'm excited to dive in. I think it's going to be great. So that's the one I chose. All right, extra prompt time that we had to add 2 on to. So what is this? 12? 12. Goodness. Okay. right. Ooh, color generator. So the next one is random color generator. So not only do I not know what that's going to be, I also got this one, I think, in January. So I get to add another prompt on. I hate everything. Okay, so I've pulled it up on my computer. So I'm going to weirdly turn around here. So we've got Google here because I don't feel like editing anything else into it. So let's see what we've got. Random. Aha, beige brown, it says. So let me have a think real quick. So many things would have worked for this one, actually, but I was trying to be nice to myself and pick something small because this TBR is already ridiculous. So I'm going to go with Can't Escape Love by Alyssa Cole because, like, her hair right there is almost a perfect match to the color here. Plus, like, there's a few things I feel like there's a lot in here that actually could be beige brown. But this is part of her Reluctant Royals series. She's got 3 books in this series and then 2 novellas, and the 2 novellas take place between the 2nd and 3rd book. So I need to read this one before I can get to the 3rd one. And also it's a novella and super short. So we have our main character, Regina, and she is a businesswoman. She has taken her pop culture-centered media enterprise to, like, the top. And the stress is forcing her to have insomnia. And the only thing that seems to be helping is this podcast of sorts, this puzzle-obsessed live streamer named Gus. And then the problem, of course, because there's always a problem, is that his entire archive has been deleted. And Gus has been tasked with creating an escape room themed around romance anime. And so when Reggie comes calling and says, hey, help please, they strike up a bargain of sorts where she helps him, gives him all of this knowledge that she has to help him create this escape room, and he'll give her his voice, basically, like record things for her and help her fall asleep at night. And of course, this online friendship is going to turn into real-life chemistry, and I'm excited. If I remember correctly, Reggie is a sister or cousin of one of the other 2 main characters that we've already had in the series. I feel like she's a sister. Either way, this is a fun, cute romance. I've loved Alyssa Cole's stuff that I've read so far, and yes, please, also short. So there is no negatives here. All right, number 13. Alright. Ooh, most recent purchase. The next one is your most recent purchase. Again, one I've already got, which means I'm adding yet another one onto this freaking TBR. And also, really bitter about this because, so I went back, I keep a list of all the books that I buy and haul so that when I do my hauls, I can actually have a list of them. And there's been a couple that, like, I've been gifted or I got in a subscription box, but the last one that I physically purchased was one that I'm reading for a secret TBR that I'm hoping to do in the next month or 2. So spoilers for that, but it's this thick. And that's Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I do have an audiobook of this, so that will help me out, but holy moly. Really, this had to be the last book that I hauled? I'm so bitter. So yeah, this chunk is gonna happen, hopefully, in April. And I mean, I have no words because, of course, not only is the TBR mad at me for some reason, the most recent one I picked up was one that is huge. So, yeah, this one's gonna be on the TBR. And we'll see what happens with that. Okay, I get to add more things on. So, 14! I swear, this is the, like, TBR from Satan. Okay, pick a cozy read. The next one is to pick a cozy read. So for this one, I'm actually going to do the second in the Magic Misfits series by Neil Patrick Harris. I don't have this one yet, so I will have to go out and purchase it. Well, I want the entire series anyway. These are so cute. But it follows this group of, like, I think 4 or 5, I think it's 5 friends, and it's like sleight of hand magic, and I've only read the first one, but, like, the first one was really about them coming together and being, like, this cute little friend group and stopping this super evil man at a carnival. This one, I'm not sure what it's about. I haven't really dived too deep into the synopsis of it, but the cover makes me think that it's some sort of fortune teller that's going to be the villain of this story. But this is the second in the series of 4, and I loved the first one. It was so cute. It had all these fun little pictures in it. I read along while I listened to the audiobook, and Neil Patrick Harris actually narrated the audiobook that I listened to, so I really hope I can find one that has him doing that again, because that was just such an amazing experience. I really enjoyed that. And I'm hoping to do the same thing. So just like a nice little sit-down, cozy read through, gives you the good feelings. That's kind of what the first one was like for me. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. Okay, number 15. If this is not the last one, I am going to riot. Okay. Okay. This is Read a Hardcover. Perfect. And thank everything that is holy in this world. My very last book pick of the month is to read a hardcover. So this one's been like on a couple of TBRs, but I'm determined to read it soon because I have so many. I want to know, like I see people talking about this in reference to ACOTAR, and I need to know. And that is the Blood and Ash From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I do have the first 3 in this series. They are all these beautiful Fairyloot editions, but I have so many references that people have made to the main character Poppy, and I don't understand them. And I want to know, because I feel like a lot of people who have really enjoyed the ACOTAR series and things by Sarah J. Maas really enjoy this series as well. And I think it's one that I'm really going to enjoy. I haven't gotten around to it yet. So I don't know a whole lot about this series. I know there's parts to the fantasy elements in this book that no one is saying because they feel like it's a spoiler to the world, which gives me like the vibes of the Bone season, because there's some things about the Bone season that like no one talks about because they're spoilers. But I, again, don't know a whole lot, but it does follow our main character, Poppy, and she is an ascended, a maiden, and so she is never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, and never to experience pleasure. And in this book, she gets a new, like, bodyguard of sorts named Hawk, and I think that there's a lot here where he, like, opens her horizons, and there's a romance between them. And I'm interested to see where this series goes. But again, I want to know, like I want to know all the references. So I officially have this on my TBR now. So hopefully I can get to it this time. So that's a look at the books that I pulled from my TBR basket. I've been sitting here and I've kind of gone through all the prompts for the Magical Readathon, and I was able to actually, I think everything except for like one, no, I think everything I was able to find something in the Magical Readathon that fits. So for those of you who don't know, the Magical Readathon is a month-long readathon, like I mentioned earlier, that takes place in 2 months. We've got the April and the August, and the idea of it is that you're going to a magical school, and each semester you have to take classes for certain things. So you pick, based on a packet that she has created that will be linked in her video, a career, and then based on that career you have certain classes that you have to take in the spring and certain tests that you have to take in the fall, and each of those classes and tests have different prompts to them. So I have decided to go with the Master of Elements, because just a lot of things, like the character that I have created for this Magical Readathon, I feel like would be really good as the Master of Elements. So with the career that I have chosen, there are only 6 prompts out of the 14 that are required. Now you can do as many as you want, but to continue in your chosen career as far as the next semester, what you need to do, there are 6 that you have to do. So I'm only going to mention those 6 here because there's 14 and that just seems like a lot, but I will be trying to do as many of these 14 as I can. But again, I'm going to be vlogging the entire month, so stay tuned for those. But the first one that I have is Elemental Studies, and that is to read a book under 100 pages. So for this one, I'm going to go with Galatea by Madeline Miller, because I believe that one is like 70-something pages at the most. It's probably way less than that, I can't remember, but it's less than 100. And the next one is Shapeshifting, and that is a creature with claws on the cover. This was so freaking hard to find something for. I had so many books on my TBR like on my list that I was like, oh, this will be perfect, it's got a raven on it, and then of course it didn't show the feet of the raven. Like, it was so annoying. But I am gonna, so this I think will count. I'm gonna go with Only a Monster, and this is by Vanessa Lynn. This was one of my, I think it was my January fairy loot, if I remember correctly. But if you look there, the lion thing has claws. And this is about like monsters and monster hunters. It follows our main character. Her name is Joan. And it's set very like contemporarily, and she goes to London for the summer and she meets with this guy and they hit it off, and then she finds out, hey, you are from a family of monsters, and said guy that you just, you know, think you have a crush on, he's a monster killer or a monster hunter. And it's her trying to figure everything out. I love the back, what it says there. It says, don't forget the rule, no one can know what we are, what you are. You must never tell anyone about monsters. In every story there's a hero and a monster. She is not the hero, and I just find that really interesting. We're going to get it from the monster's perspective, if you will. But claws on the cover. So we're going to dive into a subscription box book. Finally, I really need to dive into these more. Also, isn't this like so pretty? But yes, so that's what I'm going to do for that one. Next one is Animal Studies, and that is a quick read. I think this is very, like, you can interpret it any way you want, short, whatever. I'm going to go with my historical romance, my Tessa Dare buddy read, Do You Want to Start a Scandal? Because I can finish these in like a day or two. Very fast for me. I dive in head first and like don't come up for air until I'm done. So this will be a quick read for me for sure. The next one is Astronomy, and that is the top of your TBR. So for this month, kind of top of my TBR was from Blood and Ash. Like I said, I was very interested in it. I'm looking for something that's got like those ACOTAR vibes, or people who enjoy ACOTAR, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely top of my TBR. So here we go. The next one is Conjuration, I think, and that is A Source of Light on the cover. I'm going to go with Dial A for Aunties, because if you look right here, we've got a chandelier on the cover, which of course gives off light. So, well, there we go. And the last one that is required for me is Restoration, and that is a book featuring healers. So I'm going to go with The Heiress, which is the one that's the reimagining of Anne de Berg. I'm not 100% sure about this one, but the fact that Anne is supposed to be very sickly, to me, so there's going to be a lot of medical people that are coming and going in their house, so I feel like there'll be, you know, healers in this one. So that's what I'm going to go with. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, I overdo everything, so of course I've got books picked for every single one of these prompts, and I've also got at least one other buddy read that couldn't fit on any of these prompts, and an arc that I need to read this month. So it's gonna be a month. So I'm real glad that at the beginning of this video, before things went crazy, I decided that we were just not going to take punishments next month, because this is redonkulous and we're not taking punishments next month. Also, I think I'm going to change that rule of like having a prompt twice within 6 months, because you could very easily have it 3 times within 6 months. So I'm going to say we're going to change that to you have it twice within 3 months, because that would mean that you get it, take it out, put it back in, and then immediately get it again. So we're going to change that rule, and hopefully that'll change, because apparently I was not keeping track of them very well last year, and I would have had way more punishments if that was the case, and realized this rule is stupid. So changing my own rules there just the tiniest bit. But either way, I still picked, what was it, 15 books this month, plus the one that is required for my TBR, plus all the other ones that I want to read. Although I was able to fit almost everything in from my TBR, except for like one book. So I hope you enjoyed the chaos that was this video, because I don't know what happened. But that is it. That is my tentative, we'll see what happens TBR for the month of April. And like I said, I will be vlogging weekly vlogs this month to kind of talk about the Magical Readathon and things I'm doing for that. I don't think anything particularly exciting is happening in my life, so lots of reading should get done in April. Fingers crossed. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you are participating in the revamped Magical Readathon, let me know down below what career you're going for, or some books that you're excited to read this month. And if you're not, what you planning on reading in April? Do you have a theme? Are there other readathons that you're participating in? Do you have reading plans? What are your reading plans for April? Let me know. But I hope that you enjoyed the chaos that was this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!